Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about The Color Purple, written by Alice Walker. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. All right, The Color Purple has a lot of characters, very interesting characters. These characters um they're going through a lot of things. Celie, a black woman. We're seeing black people going through these things of existence, of being alive, of going through life, and trying to make sense of the lives that they have. And it's not easy. There's a lot of characters within this work, but there are five characters that this work pays a lot of attention to, and that's Celie, Nettie, Alfonso, Albert, and Shug. There's a lot of other characters, but these five characters take up the bulk of the work. And we're gonna focus on these characters. We'll talk about the other ones too, but these are the characters that make up the bulk of the novel, and we kind of focus on their lives and what they go through. Again, this book has a lot to say, but we're gonna just cut to the chase here and talk about what happens within this work. Celie and Alfonso, it's really bad, man. I mean, at 14, Alfonso's having sex with her, and she believes that Alfonso is her father. So it's just disgusting. I mean, the novel just opens up with this disgusting concept of Alfonso being the biological father of Celie, and he's raping her. And they have two children together. And I mean, that's just disgusting. It's abominable. To think about what this young girl had to go through, thinking that this is what her father is doing with her, the trauma. Even though we're later told that this is not true, that that's not her biological father, it's still very it's dark, man. It's dark that a 14-year-old girl had to had children by this man who is a father to her, but not her biological father. But she had to think that that was her father for a long time. That type of trauma, I don't know how you get over that. Celie does have a sister by the name of Nettie. They're very close. They're really true family within this work, Nettie and Celie. Nettie has a lot of things that she goes through. After Celia leaves, Alfonso goes after Nettie. And again, Alfonso um, is abusive. He's raping. Um, I mean, oh man, it's just dark. Um, Verbally abusive, physically abusive. He's raping Celie. Um, you know, there's a point where Alfonso has her thinking that he's her father, and the children he just takes them after she gives birth to them and gives them away for adoption. So this woman goes through a lot. It's a very dark and depressing novel when you really look at the underbelly and really think about what's going on within this work. The only two people that are close within this novel is Celie and Nettie. They do stay close within the novel, and it's the sisters that stick together. Celie does get married to a man by the name of Albert. Albert is abusive and violent. He has lots of other children from other marriages, and by the age of 20, Celie's taking care of Albert's children from other women. Her two children were given away for adoption to a minister and his wife by Alfonso. So Celie, her children are gone. She's taking care of her husband's children, Albert's children, and she's a girl filled with trauma from a father who's not her biological father, um, that was abusive, to a husband that's abusive. It's a dark life. And, from 14 to 20, I mean, within the span of those years, man. Who it's bad. It's bad. Oh man. It's just 6 years of horrible, horrible, um, just horror. Um, yeah. So basically, the work goes on. Um, and Nettie, she comes to stay with Celie for a while. When Albert starts to, you know, make moves on Nettie, Nettie goes away and stays with, a minister. The minister that adopted Celie's children, and they go to Africa. And Nettie keeps writing letters to Celie, and Albert keeps intercepting them and hiding them away from Celie. And Nettie reveals a lot of things throughout these letters about how her life is going, how, everything is going. Within the work, Celie's son does end up marrying an African girl from a tribe that the minister and his wife went to go and, minister to. The minister's wife dies. She suspected Nettie cheating with the minister, and Nettie and the minister do get married. And Celie's son does marry one of the African girls from the tribe, and eventually they all do come home. The minister and Nettie, who's now his wife, and Celie's two children, they do go back to Georgia by the end of the novel. So Nettie's story is she, from Alfonso to Albert, trying to escape those abusive men, and she ends up with the minister as, that becomes her husband. But also there's some problems there too, because we can definitely assume that Nettie and the minister, they were going behind the minister's wife's back, and because they just end up together after the minister's wife dies, so you can imagine what was going on there. But at least, Celie's children were brought back to Celie, and I mean, I guess they were with their aunt, because their aunt ends up marrying their adoptive father. So that whole thing happened. Um, and within the work, Albert, he doesn't die, but he does mellow out and becomes more of a friend with Celie. He cheated on Celie several times. He ends up with this girl that he really loved by the name of Shug. Shug is bisexual. There's points within the work where she's with men, and there's other points when her and Celie become lovers. So Shug is bisexual, and she was with Albert, then she was with a younger man, then she comes back to be with Celie. So, I mean, at the beginning, we didn't even know that Celie was bisexual, or her she was with Alfonso, then with Albert, then with Celie. So that whole thing right there is the layers of I don't know. Um, and so Celie and Shug do end up together by the end of the work. Um, Alfonso does die. He dies, and Celie inherits a store, a house, land with her and Nettie, and Celie's two children, and Shug, and Celie, Nettie, Celie's children, Shug. They do end up together by the end of the work, so the work does end up happy. I guess you get a happy ending. Um, yeah, in terms of deeper meaning and analysis, this novel it's a lot. I mean, from rape to sexual advances to a lot of the men, Albert, Alfonso, uh, Albert's son Harpo, and his dealing with women, and the women he goes after, and the women he marries, and how he treats women. Um, that's another character that's interesting within this work. Um, the minister and his wife, the children, Albert's sexual history and his dealing with women, Alfonso's treating of Celie and having her think that he was her father, her biological father at some point. Yeah, man, it's just purely disgusting, man. You know, just the idea of a father doing that to his own daughter, it's just it is roach behavior. Just extremely disgusting. Um, yeah, yeah. The novel, it's again, it's disturbing. All these things that these women had to go through. And Celie, one thing I'll say in terms of deeper meaning about her is that I think sexually she's been so abused and taken advantage of her whole life that she doesn't know what she feels, you know? From thinking that your father was raping you to an abusive husband that's cheating on you to a woman that becomes your lover that left you for a younger man. You know, it's kind of like everybody that you thought meant something to you or that was supposed to love you or that was supposed to be there for you, they all either rape you, abuse you, cheat on you, leave you behind, forget about you, or do something worse. So Celie, I think she's just within this work. She was just looking for somebody to be there for her. Because at some point, her and Suge were just friends, good friends, and they got along. And then they became lovers. And then Suge went away, and then came back. So she's a person that, you know, at 14, Alfonso was raping her. So that trauma alone, how do you unpack that even as an adult? Um, so her dating behavior, her relationship behavior, her marriage behavior, it's probably not made with a full understanding of what's going on because um love and sex, it wasn't something that she mentally made a choice of. It was just something that was always taken from her since she was a kid. So mentally, Celie is probably not all 100% there. It's just because all of her romantic or love like behaviors have been, you know, situations of force and abuse. So, yeah, she does forge a life for herself by the end of the work, but that's an onion that you have to peel because we can take this several ways to understand the mindset, the mentality, and the character of Celie because she's been through a lot. I mean, imagine your children being ripped away from you, your children that I guess at some point you probably thought they were your siblings. Ah, man, that's even another. Because at some point she probably thought her kids were her own siblings because she thought Alfonso was her biological father. Um, there's so much betrayal, man. And then Albert, you know, he was hiding the letters from Celie, and it's in the letters Celie learns that Alfonso's not her biological father. It's in the letters that she learns that, you know, her kids were, you know, how her kids were doing and what they were up to. Um, and the letters were very important to her because her sister Nettie was the only human being that she's ever really that just didn't abuse her and take something from her. Even Suge abused Celie because Suge just ditched her for a younger man at some point within the novel. Um, so again, this whole novel, you're seeing things happen to these people that are not under entire control. All these people are messed up or have some type of trauma, sexual trauma, emotional trauma. They've been abused, verbally abused, beaten. Because Alfonso and Albert, they beat the women in their lives. They beat them, hit them, rape, and it's a vicious cycle of abuse, and it's all upside down. And I think by the end, you do get a happy ending, and you do see Celie becoming more of a woman that's taking charge of her life. I mean, yes, we can. Some people have painted this novel to be uplifting and women empowering. I guess you can look at it like that, but I don't see it like that. You don't just forget all the abuse and all the horrible things that Celie went through. I think she just manages to keep it together and just keeps moving forward with her life to make something out of it by the end of it. And, her and her kids and her sister and Shug, they kind of patch up this life together by the end of it. But I don't see the empowerment here. This is not empowerment. This is survival. It's just surviving. Um, you know, this yeah, there's a lot to look at within this novel, a lot to study here. Uh, but wow, the color purple. I mean, if we think about the title for a deeper meaning, I mean, you can look at it and try to interpret it in many different types of ways. Um, Colors, especially the color. I mean, when I think about the color purple, I think about royalty, and I think about because that's what it used to represent in the past. But within this work, I mean, purple can represent several different types of things, from emotions, from trauma, from um, I don't know. For me, the color purple, when I hear the title and when I feel the way I feel within this work and all the trauma that the women go through, I think of more like depression, like deep. You know when sometimes people say like they feel blue, and sometimes we think that blue means sad. For me, when you feel, if somebody would say they feel purple, that's like decay, disgust, and depression. I mean, within this work, the color purple is just like this heaviness, this thing that you had to throw off of you. Because if you think about the color purple and how it used to symbolize richness and royalty, I think the rich will wear heavy purple garments, and purple comes with a refined air with a heavy aspect to it, right? I think that this type of trauma and things that these characters experience within this novel, not most people don't experience these things, and there's a heaviness, there's a depression about it. There's because again, I think some people will take this novel and say it's for female empowerment, but you don't just get over the trauma here, people. You don't just get over the depression here. Celie and Nettie and the kids, they've experienced things that no one should ever experience in a lifetime. From because I can't count on like the amount of the like depressing things that Celie and Nettie went throughout their lives, or traumas that most people don't ever experience. I mean, for one thing, her kids being taken away, not being able to see them grow up, and having them being taken away by the man who was raping you, and also thinking that man was your father, and also that man, having sexual advantages towards your sister, then an abusive husband that beats you and cheats on you and doesn't love you, and then you get together, Celia gets together with a woman that cheats on you too and leaves you and then comes back and says, I want to be with you, and having experiences since you were 14 and having all these things and becoming a mother of your husband's many children by other women and being thrusted into these things. In many ways, Celia and Nettie, they were beings that were thrown about in the wind and people use them as they wish. So I do understand that by the end they get somewhat of a good ending, but most of the novel is just tragic. But that's my 2 cents. Yeah, well, that's my summary analysis of this novel. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.